Welcome to episode 31 of Two Dimensional Champions. I am Julian.
I am Fadinator.
And you can find me on Twitter at Julian at Sulcouth Comics, I think it is. We have any emails or anything like that?
2dcrequest@gmail.com.
Tell us what we should watch next.
Yes. And also what we're watching next is Aijin?
Aijin, Demi-Human. That's what we're going to be, or whatever. Published by Vertical. It's going to be up on Netflix. People are already watching it. If you're already watching it, then you know where to watch it. So
the internet.
We'll just leave that
crazy world the internet. Out there. It's dog eat dog, but it's all going to be released on Netflix in the next month. So.
Yeah, next couple of months. It's probably going to be right after the whole show finishes airing on Japanese TV. But today, we were talking about the first 5 episodes of Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinku, which is, I'd say, fairly up there for most fucking annoying title next to Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? I just don't know which one's more annoying, because one's just in another language for me, and the other is in English, and both are, like, really cumbersome to say. So, it's, just kind of up there. So, for the whole show, I'm just going to refer to it as
Showa. That's what I put it down as. I didn't even I never wrote the rest or listened to the rest. I was like, Showa. Seems good. It's a Showa. Yeah.
That gets to the point. Yeah, and that refers to the time period that the series takes place in, which I think is from like 1926 to 80, somewhere in the 80s. I should have actually made a note of that, I guess. But I didn't, so yeah. But the series is animated by Studio Dean. It's based on a manga by Haruko Kumota. It has 8 volumes. It's been running since 2010. Kumota is, I think, probably best known. I think it's a woman. So I think she's best known for her BL series, Boys Love Yaoi stuff.
Huh. God, never would have gotten that one.
Yeah. So that's what she's best known for. Yeah. There was a 2-episode OVA series in 2015. I didn't see it. I don't know if where it takes place in regard to the TV show, but the series itself is directed by Mamoru Hatakeyama, who has done a lot of work. The only previous show that I had really heard of him from is he directed a series called San Korea, which aired a couple of years ago, which was about like a zombie girl who falls in love with like a boy. I never actually watched it, but I know it was out. It was a manga that got released here in the States. And really the most important thing to know about this show going into it is Rakugo, which I had no idea it even existed prior to watching it. And I'll say right now that that was by far the most interesting thing I pulled away from the series was Rakugo.
Now, are you kind of seems like learning what it is, or their Rakugo performances?
Learning what it was, and like kind of, I mean, it's obviously it's a very Japanese thing. It's a very it's very much part of that culture, and so I can't say like I got it or that I like understood the jokes. I found myself laughing at a few things, but but I can kind of, I kind of respect it for what it is, and I just don't know anything about it. So this was my introduction to it, and that it's like a combination of. I kind of thought of it as a combination of stand up and kind of like a one person play, but it's all done from the seated position, and you only use a paper fan and a small cloth as props. So everything else has to be done in changes of inflection, slight movements of the face, and like different body movements and stuff like that. So everything is very, very precise down to who you're looking at with the fan, like, and also like movements with the hands and stuff like that. So it seems really cool because you memorize these stories, and I mean, I thought that was really interesting. I had just never heard of it before. Uh, but that was my biggest pull away from the show. Doesn't really say a lot for the show itself, but what did you think? What did you think of it?
I don't. In my mind, I'm screaming, so I'm trying to like tone it down a level.
Articulation.
I think this is my least favorite show I may have ever seen. I like Showa Genroku better than this. Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of something that, like, because there's shows where you get to a point and you're just like, but there's like a point of curiosity or of interest. I never got that point. I never cared about anything in the show. And there's some people who love it. They're like, that performance was amazing. And I'm thinking like the whole anime is based on performance, where it's sort of like listening to an audiobook. Essentially, it's like and very minimal like tone changes, like little like micro expressions and stuff like that. But it's a fucking it's a drawing. Right? Like we're watching an animation, so it's like the micro expressions, aren't to me as like some people are like, wow, that was a real moving performance. I was like, maybe if it was like a person, but instead it just sort of like looked like a lot of really fast camera angle changes and like little like whatever things, and it's just it didn't translate to me what I felt like it was supposed to translate, which is like the history and the art and all the other jazz. To me, it was just like really annoying. None of the stories were interesting. I didn't really like the music because they played the old instruments. I thought the singing was ridiculous. And I understand that that's like a whole cultural thing, but it's like, I don't think that they're even like singing like that much now. Maybe they are. I don't know. I guess for like classic sort of stuff, but God, it was torture from the get-go. The first episode was 40 freaking 5 minutes. It was like supposed to be an hour-long episode. Why?
Yeah,
just to start a flashback? Episode... What the fuck, man? Oh my God.
Yeah, so for people who haven't watched it, we watched the first 5 episodes on Crunchyroll, but technically that was the first 6 because the first one was double length. Which hasn't happened ever before. None of the shows we've watched have done that. So I'm guessing you wouldn't recommend, before we get into like the
I would recommend
spoilers.
Ever. Yeah. I would discourage it. I mean, I just don't understand. If you really liked it, like, let's talk. Because I really don't. I mean, I saw that it had a lot of 5 stars. I legit don't understand. Like, there's some things where you can be like, I see where you're coming from, bro. I can't see where you're coming from. Yeah. Unless you're like with you in Jurassic World, which I liked Jurassic World better than this show.
That's a scary thing to
say. and you were like, I just really like, monster battles. So you could be like, I just really like their music or something. But then it's like, but then did the plot grab you? Because there wasn't much there either.
Yeah, so also for those listening too, the reason why I had no idea what this show was about. I've never read the manga or anything like that, and I thought the poster for the series that was up on when I was looking through what shows were airing in January, I thought it looked like it could be a very nicely animated. I just really liked the poster. I was like, that looks really pretty. Um, I It looked like a period piece. I was like, that looks interesting. Have no idea what it's about. Let's do it. And then I had heard really good things about it online. Like people really like it. There's people like you were saying, it's got a really high rating on Crunchyroll.
Like the vocal minority. Or something like maybe it's one of those things like it fits like a niche, and the people who are satisfied by that are really vocal about it, and the people who aren't just never watch it, so just don't even talk about it.
Yeah, that's actually probably a good description. Is if you knew about the series going into it, then you're probably in that group that's gonna like it, regardless of where you found out about it. Like if you're just a fan of the author or something like that, you know. Now, interestingly enough, the series has won a lot of awards in Japan, like a lot. It's gotten either nominated or walked away with some major major things. I didn't put them down.
Call me an ignorant American. Like I just don't like.
Well, I'm not even saying that.
And there's things that I just don't understand in this world.
Yeah,
you know.
And I'm not even saying you are, but because I'd say before we get into the big discussion, I couldn't really recommend this to anybody because I've never even heard of Rakugo.
I can't think of anyone.
Yeah. So I can't think of there's nobody I know who's like, oh, they love Rakugo. Maybe they'll like this show. There's nothing like that, and I think for people who like the yaoi like boys love aspect of it, I just don't think there's enough. I mean, the guys are pretty. I mean, they're good looking, but I don't feel like there's enough of that in the first 6 episodes to even appeal to those people. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even like there's not a lot. I mean, you can tell it's written by someone who has that in their
then
in their trade, but there's not enough of it on the surface.
There's that scene when the guy. Well, I guess that's in the spoiler range. So.
But I mean, so it's like Free. You remember that? Like
I'm more interested in Free.
Swimming. But see, that made more sense to me because it was like the guys were hot.
And swimming's cool.
And it was, and it was really well animated. So there I would be like, okay.
Do like sports anime really well. Like shocking. It's really like, man, well. Yeah, like I like watching these cartoons do these physical activities while I sit around and do nothing. This is a great use of my time. For some reason, that works.
Well, did you know that there's some fan service animes that are just exercise routines? So it's like anime girls with big boobs doing like push-ups and like cheering on the viewer to like do their own exercises.
No, I didn't.
We can do a whole thing about that.
I'm not sure if I want to know, and I don't want to know why you know. So let's just move on.
So yeah, I can't really. I don't know. Well, when we get into it, there is some stuff I did like about it, but I don't know who I'd recommend this to. I flat out don't. So if you really love this series, if you're a huge fan, echoing what you just said, if you're a huge fan, write to us and tell us why. Please, because just enlighten us. So I think that takes care of the formalities for the intro.
So just onto the nitty-gritty of the show.
Yeah, so for now on, this is, if you haven't watched the first 6 episodes or so, or at least up to 5 on Crunchyroll, then I would say you're going to get spoiled, and I would say it would be more interesting to watch it, but I actually don't know if either one of those would be true. Yeah.
Yeah, so the episode 1 too. The epilogue?
Yeah. So, did this take place in the modern day, or did this take place in, the 70s?
I mean, I don't know when the first episode necessarily was. I thought it was sort of like a more modern day-ish thing. Was my impression. But,
yeah. Because I was actually expecting it to be, like 1920s, the setting that it is from in the flashback. I was expecting it to just start.
Well, I'm not sure
there
if it's ever going to go back to present day.
I think maybe in the last episode.
I don't know. It seems to be all about these two guys in their flashback or whatever.
And the opening and ending doesn't have any of the characters from the modern quote unquote setting, even if it is.
So I think like episode 1 was like its own series, and then episode 2 is like the other series.
Yeah, so we have a guy who just gets out of jail. I actually liked him as a character. I thought he was. I was like, okay, I don't know why he picked Rakugo or why he's interested in that or anything.
Well,
about
I mean,
that.
he was interested because the guy went and performed at his prison.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's right, yeah. And I liked his dynamic with the girl who was the daughter of another performer.
Seemed kind of interesting, too. Well, she was the daughter of the guy's gay lover.
Oh, yeah. How many episodes, and this isn't like meant to sound mean, how many episodes did it take you to guess that the guy was gay? Because it took me all 5.
No, I have a note right here. That's is this Yaoi?
It actually took me a while to realize
as soon as they started blushing at each other, that was my first clue. Like as soon, when they were like 12 or whatever, and like blushing, and one was like masculine, like one was the top and the other one was the bottom,
Oh yeah, the pinky promise scene was. I think I was like, okay, that's an interesting. So the main guy is Yakumo Yurakute, so Yakumo for right now, because otherwise there's a lot of like, it'll be Dude 1 and Dude 2. So the stuff I liked about the first episode was I liked the daughter of Yotaro. I thought she was pretty interesting. I liked the guy who just got out of jail, his attempts to, break into the scene, so to speak. That was interesting. I just didn't know what it was about. I really didn't know what it was about because the daughter drops the bomb where it was like, oh, but you're responsible.
And then it had that flashback scene where it's like doesn't really like he's like mourning over the dead guy. And it's like you're responsible, but he's like crying over the dead guy. So it's like, oh well, someone's got some misplaced blame, but okay.
Yeah, and like that was a big scene, but then there was no follow up to it, so it just moved to something else. And like Yakumo didn't want an apprentice, but like this guy obviously reminded him of Yotaro, so he took him in. And then at the end of the whole thing, we start the flashback, and you're right in saying that it is almost its own series at this point.
I mean, it starts off when they're like 12 or something. It starts off when they're really young, and then it goes into their adulthood. Like, it's its own thing. It's not like, oh, remember when I was 12? All right, now back to present day. It's just like when I was 12, and then 13, then 14, then 15, then 16, like as I slowly aged.
And so Yakumo says at the end of the first episode, he's like, well, okay, so you all should know what happened. This is going to be a long night. And I was like, fuck, okay, this is going to be like... It just doesn't feel like a story he's telling them, It just... I don't know. Anyway, it was all over the place. There's an author named Natsume Ono, and she's done series like House of Five Leaves, which was a period piece, and Restaurante Paradiso. And her series, first of all, the characters kind of reminded me of her style. And then also, her stories often have this sort of meandering flavor where you're not really sure what it's about, but the interactions and the like kind of small dramas that occur as whatever the story is progresses, it keeps you involved, keeps you interested, and the character interactions are well done enough where it really pulls you in, and I really enjoy it. This was like the absence of those interesting character interactions. I didn't know who I was. I don't know what
and it's about. Like when they're doing the Rokugan, is it Rokugan? Is that what it's called? Rakugo? When they're doing the Rakugo, it's like it's not the same type of voice acting that we sort of consider voice acting now. It's like it's a different sort of style that's appropriate for that time back then. You know, there's certain like tones and feelings. So it's not like when they say like I love you. It's not, they're like I love you. Ah! You know, like it's a completely different tone.
It's really
or
embellished.
Whatever. Like
yeah. And what is interesting about Rakugo is, from the little I read about it, there's like all these different classes of stories, which I think is cool. Like they have like ghost stories, they have like more emotional, like dramatic stories, and it looks like and it looks like the majority of the stories we see in this show or have seen in this show so far are kind of these comedic, and that's why I thought of stand up.
Well, it really did. There's also like, that scene where they said that they banned a lot because of the war that was going on, so they weren't allowed to do a lot of stories.
Yeah,
which and I was kind of hoping like, oh well, maybe like they'll do some stories anyway, and some shit will go down, and there'll be some like drama. Like that's an interesting plot point, but no, they just don't do those stories, and they just continue.
Or like Yotaro and the teacher who Yakumo and Yotaro study under. He's like, well, we're gonna go to China and perform for the troops. So I was like, oh, okay, that'll be interesting to see. What's that going to be like? Well, we never see it because we stick with Yakumo, who goes to the country and waits for them. And then the war's over. The whole wartime period it starts off really interesting because they go to I actually like the part where the government was cracking down on, they thought Rakugo was lewd and, should be censored. And so like over 50 of the works were banned. And so they became they couldn't perform them anymore. And I thought that was really fascinating.
But it never had an impact on the story.
No, it was mentioned. The only purpose it served was to split the group up and to move the story forward.
I mean, well, that in itself didn't split. It was just like, we don't have any money, so I'm leaving. It's easier for me to go with one other person than two other people later. It's like, am I just like a cat to you? It's like, yeah, deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, when Yotaro comes back from the war, he's really not that different from when he left. Nor is the teacher. Nobody seems really majorly affected by the war, which, I mean, I wasn't there, but from what I've heard, it's kind of a big deal,
They're like, and then a bomb went off. All right, moving on.
Yeah. And it's like the house that they study in was unaffected by the firebombs. There's no effect. I mean, it serves to break them up and then to bring them back together, and also to bring in Miyokichi, the master's lady on the side.
Oh, yeah, that's that was the note that I took right before I said "kill me now." As a fancy city lady shows up.
Yeah, she comes in like episode. Yeah, she comes in at like episode 4, and I'm tempted to say she could be an interesting character, but she's been in it not long. I mean, you can tell she has a longer arc, and I'm guessing by the opening she's going to die. That's where I kind of see that going. The opening made it look pretty grim, and I liked the opening. I really liked the animation and actually the song and stuff like that. But it kind of made it seem like she's going to die. Maybe, even though Yakumo is hated by the daughter of Yotaro, that maybe Yakumo is the good guy, Yotaro is actually an asshole. Maybe. But that's just, I mean, who knows? I mean, because also, what's weird is we get shown how important and how central Rakugo is to everything that they're doing, but all the interesting stuff that I feel like they shouldn't have skipped, like the censorship issues, I mean, the war,
I would say it's
all that gets skipped.
Akin to theater, sort of like in Shakespeare's time or whatever. It's like super focused on. I mean, it's just like they're form of entertainment, but also like influence for the people. It's like what they go to for everything, like that's their leisure time. Yeah.
For fun. Yeah, I mean that's and then so like when things were bad and were rough, there's very few people showing up, and then they after the only the post-war thing was that people were really showing up because they said, oh, people have been deprived of fun for so long that they're this is going to be a boom for Rakugo. I mean, I just don't know, because also too, in episode 1, like, we see the ghost of Yotaro, who we don't really. I get, I was like, okay, he's the dad, I guess. Why is he sitting weird in this car, facing him? I was like, that's weird.
I think he got into a car accident. Why? And that's how he died. That's what it looked like. Yeah.
Do you think that's what it is?
So maybe, Homeboy was driving when the accident happened or something like that. And that's why he doesn't drive anymore. He has his own driver. Or whatever. I don't know.
No, that could be. Yeah.
I don't care either.
I don't know. It's So I really did think it is a very pretty show. I
didn't even really find it to be that pretty.
I thought the colors.
It was interesting, but like the animation wasn't really that good. Like for a show that's entire purpose is on like micro expressions and people's personality and performance and stuff like that. For a show that's completely based on that, I feel like there should have been more like effort put into that. You know what I'm saying?
Or they could have done something with so you know how like in Death Note they'd have these like when he was eating the chips, remember in that scene, and like writing down people's names, that guy, and it was like really intense because he had the and it was just done in a really intense way, and I feel like they could have had more fun with the animation style, and they played around almost a little bit where they would show like sparks of like something going on in the story, but we never actually. It never gets embellished.
Well, like the way that like character changes would happen were like slants of the eyes and with like timed with a camera angle swap.
Yeah, because they would
with like the voice change,
kind of frame it for the. Yeah, they'd frame it for the different characters.
And I don't even think that was fine, but I feel consistent like though. It didn't seem consistent.
No, they didn't. There
were a lot of times when I wasn't really sure what
the
hell was going on.
Yeah, they changed it up a few times. I feel like this could be a series that if it had a really fucking awesome director, this could have been really good. I just feel like
Do you remember when we watched Perfect Insider? And I know it was like a different animation style. Yeah. Like I think that was more CG and this is more traditional or something like that. But I definitely think that they use computers for like the coloring and all that other jazz.
Oh yeah.
But like, do you remember how like she would puff her cheeks or how she like respond when like drinking something hot or whatever? And it was like really made them seem like people. Same with Erased.
Yeah.
Like you really relate to them as people just with the way that with all of the like just expressions. I didn't feel like
these characters
nearly on the same level of expressions as those two animes, and those two animes aren't shows completely focused on people's expressions and their ability to tell a story.
Yeah. Yeah, these characters were surprising.
So that's when I say the colors were cool, but like I wouldn't say that the animation was good. I didn't think that like the characters were really portrayed that well. I feel like they kind of looked the same all the time. It was
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. One thing that I noticed in starting from episode 2 is, and I don't know how indicative this is of Rakugo in general, but I really enjoyed how sometimes they would open up and they would start with either a quote or they would go right from like, just the way they would open some of the stories was really cool. How they would it was a conversation with the audience in which the performer was the only one talking. So he starts the show talking to almost talking for the audience, talking back to them, and then he eases into the story.
Oh, and that I thought was really cool. Weather's sort of like this today. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
With my humble whatever and.
Yeah, and like I just loved how smooth they would open stuff, and like I really got a good feeling. I felt like for how when the teacher is scolding, I think the first student in the first episode, about how he's losing the audience and stuff like that. I felt with like the opening and stuff like that, it was like, oh wow, I can see how you'd get really, you really get, the performer really takes down any insecurities or borders there might be in the
like
audience towards the stage,
smiling
and
and
then
like being goofy or
yeah,
whatever, being personable, and then
and just how,
I think it wasn't until the fifth episode where
but that,
the main character like got that, you know.
yeah, exactly, and I like that, but that's not necessarily something going for the show. That I think is just Rakugo. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting way.
Yeah,
That's cool.
like
That's really
they do
cool.
crowd warm up,
And a couple of the stories. Yeah, and I liked how they did the crowd warm up. I thought that was an interest. And again, I don't know if that's just, I don't know where that fits with Rakugo as a whole, but that I like.
But when you say like, do you really mean like liked, or thought was like kind of interesting, just enough to like? Were you like, yeah, or was it just like, huh?
Well, it was more of, I thought it was intriguing. It's not really my thing, but it's kind of like, if you don't really like giant robots, but if you see a really cool transformation scene, you kind of get like a little glimpse of being like, oh, I can see that was well done or something like that. Like that was a cool sequence or whatnot. It's kind of like that. But again, that's not necessarily a point towards the show. That's just Rakugo seems interesting.
Yeah,
I've never heard
it sort of makes me think of like
that's really
like
tough.
people doing puppet performances now and stuff like that, and it's just so interesting. Like, like I understand the value of the classic mediums, and there's always like the hipsters that are like, oh, vinyl's way better than FLAC or whatever, like hearing the indents and the record or whatever. But it's like, I feel like it's such an inferior level of storytelling. Like, and it's also being presented to us through an inferior medium. Like animation is just does not. It's not like, it's sort of like it just doesn't have all the nuances, and this is a performance style that's based solely on the nuance. Like the whole anime is like, oh well, you're not representing the girl as well because you haven't like actually found a girl that you love, or like they're really trying to get into this like getting their life experiences and transferring it to the art, and like having every single like nuance and feeling expressed through their subtle actions, but the medium, like the animation, doesn't portray those actions. So as a viewer, I just feel like you're missing out. Like I would much rather like see an actual performance. Rakugo? What is that? Rakugo?
Rakugo.
Rakugo performance. To see how someone does all of that. I think that's like way more interesting. But with this, it's like too watered down.
Yeah.
But then I see people on Crunchyroll, they're like, wow, that performance was amazing. And I'm like, they didn't fucking do shit. It was like a bunch of like camera angle swaps and then just a voice portrayed on a two-dimensional medium. Like, it's not like, I mean, I don't think that the voice acting was like completely next level and totally blew my mind. It just didn't have that level of impact.
Yeah, and also for the voice acting, I don't have an ear.
That could be it as well. It could be like that I don't hit those tones. I don't understand those tones.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I just don't know, so I don't know if that was going on. But judging is like just the brief research I did on Rakugo, which was the Wikipedia page. Woohoo! But that's judging with how much detail, yeah. With the level of detail they bring to Rakugo, there could be because it looks like a lot of Rakugo people who practice or were like trained in Rakugo go on to be like voice actors, voice actresses now, go on to be comedians, go on to be. It seems like it's a classical form of performance that looks like is carried over to a lot more of the kind of Japanese entertainment industry than I would have ever guessed because I never knew Rakugo existed. So I mean, I guess I might err on the side of there just might be some subtle shit that they're saying that makes it funnier or more interesting. Because I will say though that the voice actors that they have for the show are sort of like the major league people. The Yakumo is voiced by Akira Ishida, who is Nagisa Kaoru from Evangelion. He's been in hundreds of shows. Megumi Hayashibara is Miyokichi, who's the girl on the side for the Masters. She's Rei Ayanami from Evangelion. She's in everything in the 90s. Wow. Koichi Yamadera is Yurakute, who's the actually, and I was messing this up before. Yotaro is actually the student. I think Sukuroku is the other performer who's the dad of the girl. His voice actor is Yamadera, and Yamadera is Spike Spiegel, Kaji from Evangelion, also hundreds of other characters and stuff like that. So like that was actually one of the first things I noticed about the show was like, holy shit, they have essentially, I mean, the A-list team. Yeah, I mean, like really huge. You know, Megumi Hayashibara actually did the opening for the series, and Sheena Ringo did the ending theme song. And Ringo is, I haven't listened to a lot of her stuff, but she is like one of the biggest Japanese, I don't want to say rock stars. She's not really an idol, but she's just one of the biggest Japanese singers of, I'd say, like the past 20, 30 years or so. So it's like, there's a lot of A game here. And what I don't understand is why the director wasn't A game. Like, I don't feel like the director is that great.
You know, I agree. Yeah, like when Rei is like screaming and stuff like that or whatever, like just moments of intensity, it gives me chills just thinking about. There was no like part in this that I felt like hit me at any sort of emotional like or like physical reaction to like what I'm hearing or experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to blame it on the director. I just don't think it was very well. I mean, I've never read the manga, so I don't know if he changed anything or what's going on there, but I just don't think the director brought. And then again, I mean, I guess you could say that maybe he kept it really toned down for a reason to like try to make sure that the Rakugo wasn't overindulged.
Like it really, again, like it seemed like an audiobook. Like there really didn't seem to be a point for the visuals to me. Like they were so limited. So I would say like they should have been cranked all the way up, or maybe they just spent all of their budget on audio. So maybe it's all just supposed to be these voice actors. Instead of actually doing the performance, they just have like, you know, an animation doing it, but really like all of the talent comes through in their actual thing. There are actual times when I would like instead of trying to watch the animation, I would just read the subtitles and not pay attention to anything else. And I would even argue that I enjoyed it more when I did that than when I actually tried to like take both in at the same time.
So really, this should have been like a drama CD or something like that. That's really shouldn't have been a show. That's an interesting point. Yeah. So one of the Rakugo stories I did actually enjoy was the one about greed in general, and the guy wakes up squeezing his
which is just like I mean, like I think that humor is stupid. You know, like. And then, you know, they
I thought it was funny. I thought it was
to his nuts or whatever. He's like, he's holding his own too, like, like whatever.
I mean, I liked it because at least gave some flavor.
I mean, that's the only story that I remember. So, I mean, I guess, you know, he like leaves the guy on the sandbar or something like that. Or...
Yeah, and I also liked when Yakumo was he was throwing the charcoal or the wood sticks at the other guy because he was angry at him for bringing those the prostitutes over. And I actually did like how that was animated. He had
like chopsticks.
He had like the chopsticks or something. But what was great is Yakumo is like he's like a stone cold character, so he's just chucking these wood pieces at the guy. That I liked. I liked when Sukuroku lit up his cigarette using one of the big logs and stuff. That was fun. I liked how he wanted to charge the prostitutes. I mean, I like that scene for staying. He like brought them there to like hang out with them and spend the night. And Yakumo was like, "Yeah, sure. There's a there's a special, which is that women
three
play,
times
pay
the
like
actual special.
three times.
It's like
Yeah,
for
the
you can
actual
stay for
special price.
500, but for women it's a special. Three
Yeah,
times the amount. Swear I'm not gay.
yeah,
But then he had this whole thing with the
yeah.
girl too, so I think that they're both just like bisexual, or maybe it's like a way of showing that like homophobia was so unaccepted.
Yeah. My guess is that Sukuroku, I mean, at the most might be bi. I think Yakumo is just super gay because the first girl that he was dating, he says in the monologue that he only dated her because he was just interested in what
Right.
women were like. So I just took that as he wasn't especially
but
fond of her or attracted to her. He was
what
just
is
like,
this dating thing?
what are they like? What is this dating thing? Like, what is it about? Stuff like that. So I think Yakumo is pretty. I actually just didn't think about it until when he was smooching Miyokichi, and she was getting chastised by the
Oh, and she's like, "Don't
one of
worry,
the
he's not
other.
one of those. He's not like that or something."
Yeah,
And then he's like, "I shouldn't
she
have
says,
told
"Don't
her."
worry, it's not like that." Yeah, that was the scene where because before that I was actually I honestly just didn't even think about it. I was like, okay, and then at that scene I was like, oh, I guess he's gay.
For me,
So like,
it was the very
I,
first episode where it introduced both of them interacting, and I was like,
oh
I
yeah,
think this is
yeah.
Yali.
Also, I guess it's rare to see an older dude in anime who's sort of living with a younger woman, and he's not a giant perv.
Yeah,
You know,
it's the daughter of his lover.
That's yeah. I mean, I just pulled that out of my ass. I don't know, but whatever. I thought stuff like that. There was some funny scenes.
But like the funny scene, like were they like Konosuba or whatever funny? No, like there wasn't
no,
really like there was nothing. It was like a flat line and like oh look, there's a little hump there. Oh, that was humor.
Yeah, I feel like the show. So like Rakugo is really based on comedy or like storytelling from it's such an old tradition that it really comes from like when what's the word I'm looking for, when there was such a high uh ah fuck so mannerisms and that like the proper way of acting and my just excuse my wordage for this, but there was such a high price on like proper manners and like how you should be respectful and how even the smallest movement can be interpreted as being rude or funny or whatever. And I feel like this show is so focused on like almost on that sort of feeling that it feels completely flatline. So that like even the smallest little like glance or something like that is so you're working off of stuff like that. And so I mean, some shows are over the top. This is like not even it, and this is also giving it a lot of credit because it also could just be shitty directing, but giving it the credit that it is so focused on like those small interactions, those like really small movements of the head or something like that. And a lot I didn't really notice that, but if this show is trying to imitate that Rakugo sense of being so attentive to detail and mannerism.
But if your
maybe
audience
that's
is
what they're doing.
I don't want to like have to stretch to try to find something that I like about an anime. I don't have to be like. I mean, I did that with Triage X. Triage X was bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying just to think of like if I really really like this show, what would I like about it? And I mean that's I mean it is a stretch because it failed me. I wanted to fall asleep. And actually, a lot of those funny scenes I mentioned were in episode 5, 4 and 5 were the. So it's just like there's just so much.
If you were to rate the humor out of 10, what would you give the humor rating?
I mean, like 4, 5. I mean, it's not high.
So I just want I want the audience like, to know, and for me to feel justified when I say that. When you say funny, you mean not.
Well, like, meaning that like I was pretty much staring at the screen stone faced, and then occasionally these are the things that made me actually move differently and standing perfectly. They're sitting perfectly still. And it's kind of frustrating because I like the idea of the show. I do like the idea of the show. I like period pieces. I like, historical dramas and stuff like that. I like the idea of the story. Rakugo seems really interesting. This show, I don't even know what it's about. I really do feel like someone's going to murder Miyokichi. There's going to be like one episode that might have crazy drama where like people die and there's stakes and shit like that. But I just don't care about these characters.
I never even like started to care about them from the get go. And the thing is, it's like like when you do you know what the last episode that we it was Erased. When you think about your feelings, your thoughts, your experience watching that anime, and you compare it to watching this anime, like it's almost torture. Like to go to something that was so immersive, so pleasurable, like saw like watching it on like when it live streams or whatever. To this, it's hard. It's hard. I wish Erased wasn't so good, so this show was less painful for me.
Yeah, I mean it was a tough, it was a tough switch, but I just didn't care about these characters. I just don't think. I mean, I'd like to give it the benefit of the doubt that there's something.
And they focus on a whole lot more than.
Oh God,
that's two. There's like two. There's 2.5 characters.
Erased gave me.
And like in this show, it sort of seems, it's like the guy, the two guys, and then like kind of the girl.
Yeah, I mean, Erased gave me PTSD. So like that like show like. I really care, but I feel like this series, Yakumo, I don't think was the most interesting character, and now it's all about him.
Right, and his character, like the point of his character is to not be interesting. What?
Yeah, so I like Yotaro. I mean, Sukuroku seems like he has an interesting overall. He might have an interesting overall story, but honestly, if the show had been about the characters as they are in the first episode,
could be more interesting for sure
with Yotaro. The daughter, I could have, and if it was about him like trying to learn the ropes and slowly finding out more about Yakumo and like the relationship between these two guys and like that opening up and him trying to just get along with this guy who's a fucking grumbly asshole. I mean, he's
really
just
good at his craft. He's a dick. Apparently, he was very dull in comparison to his friend who died,
Sukuroku. Yeah, and what's interesting is that Yakumo has made this kind of like he's become a master at something that was almost like the antithesis to his character, which that's a really interesting story. Whereas Sukuroku was like you can see how he's a natural at it. He knows how to work the room. He knows how to do it. Whereas Yakumo, I do enjoy the kind of struggle that he has in doing something that's so different than how he usually acts. We don't really get to see any of that.
Yeah.
We really don't. We don't get to go through that struggle with him. It's mostly about these kind of little fights that he has with Sukuroku. And that's why I think if they had stayed in the present, it would be more interesting. Yotaro, I feel like, brings an interesting dynamic, along with the girl who is also trying to learn Rakugo, and it seems like she can't learn it because she's a girl.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say. As I think that for this period, like performing male did Rakugo, and performing females were geishas.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's just something that I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, that's actually a really important point. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and I think that would have been an interesting. Her journey would have been an interesting story. I just think that just focusing on Yakumo and totally dropping off the other modern character, or who we got introduced to first.
It's weird. Whatever. Fuck it.
I don't know. So, Anyway, so that was Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. If you really love the show, please let us know because I am really interested. And also I'm sure there's people out there who easily know way more about Rakugo than I do, and maybe could bring some insight to it. But otherwise,
were our stabs even right? Our blind stabs on what people might like about this, like.
Yeah, I mean, was that even something that And I was trying to be really gracious with all that. But anyway, I'm pretty disappointed that I was actually really looking forward to this one. We had a lot of
like sleeper surprises, like things we hadn't heard of that were really good.
Yeah,
can work both ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know it's too bad because I looked at I liked how the poster looked. I liked the idea of a period piece. I liked what I was hearing online. I was after some of the other sleeper hits we've had. I was pretty disappointed. So
yeah, I mean, did you?
There you go.
Did you hear anything about Perfect Insider before you watched it?
Yeah, I mean, I heard, like just people talking on forums and stuff like that. I mean, I know Erased was the one that was getting the most.
I can't believe that was as good as it was.
Yeah, but Perfect Insider, mainly I was like, oh, Inyo Asano did the character designs. I was like, it seems interesting, but this one I definitely knew the least about. Well, no, I didn't know really anything about Erased 2, but Erased 2, the poster looked cool.
Yeah.
But,
all right. I mean, that's all we gotta say.
All right.
You guys rock, go team. See you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Next time.